So my topic is two truths. Understanding the physical world is concerned with many areas of traditional Buddhist thought, where our explanations and theories are rudimentary when compared with modern science. Most highly developed scientific countries, it is clearly that human beings, even in most highly developed scientific countries, it is clear that human beings continue to experience suffering, especially at the emotional and psychological level. Therefore, from the perspective of human well-being, science and spirituality are not unrelated. It is therefore important to develop a more holistic and integrated way of understanding the world around us, one that explores deeply the seen and the unseen through the discovery of evidence bolstered by reason. So I'm glad to speak on this very profound topic of two truths. Let me cite two quotations from Buddha himself as a kind of background. After his complete enlightenment, when he was requested to give the teaching, share his wisdom, he refused to teach by saying that I found something that is profound, peaceful, free from fabrication, clear light, unconditioned. To whomever I teach it, nobody will understand it, so don't bother me. Leave me continue my meditation in the forest. So right in the beginning, he was hinting about this very profound realization that he had on the meaning of ultimate truth or emptiness. Then elsewhere in one of the sutra, the Buddha says, the world is arguing with me, and I'm not arguing with the world because I also accept what the worldly people accept. So that is, I think, talking about the conventional truth. Since we have many bright, intelligent, smiling students here, I want to try to say something which will be their takeaway. We all the Buddhists, we recite, the Tibetan tradition Buddhists, we all recite this famous mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum, right? How many of you recite this Om Mani Padme Hum? Can you raise your hand? Right. Wonderful. There's a scientist reciting Om Mani Padme Hum here also. So this word Om Mani Padme Hum, I want to explain this in the context of the two truths, which also talks about two truth as well as it talks about the ultimate goal of Buddhist practice. This mantra Om Mani Padme Hum is a 6-syllable mantra. The first word is Om, which is combination of 3 letters, A, O, Ma, which has 2 levels of meaning. The first level of meaning of these 3 letters refers to the exalted body, speech, and mind of the Buddha. And the second level of the meaning refers to the ordinary body, speech, and mind of the ordinary sentient beings. And then at the end of this 6-syllable mantra, we have this mantra called Hum. So that means the purpose of Buddhist practice is to make this ordinary mind, body, speech of the ordinary mind or the person to become the Buddha, to get his exalted body, speech, and mind. So Hum means to become one, to become indivisible, to get enlightened. And how would you do this? You can do this through the two truths, Mani and Padme, which is normally explained as combination of method and wisdom. Mani symbolizes the precious, fulfilling jewel, which refers to the skillful practices like development of compassion, loving kindness, bodhicitta, and so forth. And the lotus, Padma means lotus, which refers to the wisdom, understanding emptiness. So it is also talking about the ultimate truth, the emptiness. So in a way it is saying that it is through a proper understanding of the conventional realities and the ultimate realities, conventional truth and ultimate truth, that you can get enlightened, you can become Buddha. You got the meaning? Through a combined practice of good heart, which is conventional truth, and wisdom understanding the reality. Reality means here ultimate truth. Through the combined practice of these two, you can become Hung, or indivisible, with the Buddha, meaning that you can become Buddha. So therefore, in fact, there is a quotation which says that without the Buddhas give very teachings relying on the two truths. Without relying on the two truths, it is impossible for the Buddha to give any teaching. Sanji Namji Chötemba, that the teachings that Buddha gave are dependent upon the two truths. Now what is important here to understand in a more easily understandable language is that why Buddha laid so much emphasis on the two truths. Because if you look at the complete structure of the Buddha's teaching, it is a teaching that is totally based on the law of nature. It has nothing to do with the Creator God. It's not so much talking about metaphysical concepts. We do come across certain things which we will not be able to understand quickly. So in that sense, it might become metaphysical. But his whole concern is how to alleviate sufferings of sentient beings. That is his focus. Now the elevation of sufferings is possible by understanding the way things are, the law of nature. So law of nature, when we talk about law of nature, he explains law of nature by explaining the two truths. Within the law of nature, you see two things. One, the countless varieties and forms that you see, which is the conventional truth. On the other, there is a deeper reality. So I'll go a little bit more into this later on. And then if you also look at this word, the Tibetan word Chu, and its equivalent in Sanskrit is Dharma. Dharma also basically means law of nature. Dharma actually has 80, 70 different connotations. For a more core Buddhist practitioner, Dharma refers to nirvana, liberation. So whatever practice that is targeted to getting liberated, that is really in the true sense of the term, Dharma practice. But in a much more universal kind of conception, Dharma basically means the law of nature. So it is by understanding the law of nature that you are able to remove your sufferings and you can regulate your emotions and so forth. So at the very outset, I really want to make it an important point to say that Buddhism is really very much related to understanding the law of nature, and that makes it so compatible with the scientific process of study. Okay? And it is in this fact, Buddha also made a comment by saying that whether the Buddhas come into this world or not, the ultimate nature of everything is emptiness. Meaning that emptiness is not something that Buddha invented. It's the way things are. It's the way things are. Impermanence is the way things are. Suffering is the way things are. Then why we need to talk about it? We need to talk about it because even though it is the way things are, we are not able to understand it. Because of not understanding it, we are unnecessarily suffering. So it's in a way saying that if you really understand these many facets of reality, you don't have to suffer. And there is a possibility to completely eradicate suffering. Okay, so that is the point that he is making. And then, having refused to give the teaching right in the beginning, saying that what I found is something profound, peaceful, and so forth, then the celestial beings and human beings, when they made repeated requests to the Buddha saying, yes, we all agree that what you found is really like a special nectar, difficult to fathom and so forth, but among us human beings and celestial beings, there are some people who are a little bit intelligent. So even if they are unable to get everything, they will be able to get a little bit. So please share your nectar, share your wisdom. And then when he was repeatedly requested, then the first teaching that he gave was, again interesting to note this point, the first teaching that he gave was not on emptiness. The first teaching that he gave was on the famous Four Noble Truths, which again can be categorized into the two truths, because the first three of the Four Noble Truths, true suffering, true origin of suffering, true path, this can be categorized within the conventional truth, and the last true cessation can be included within the ultimate truth. So this process of teaching for me is extremely important, because even though we are fond of talking about like big things like quantum mechanics or emptiness and so forth, and sometimes it almost becomes a fashion that everybody tries to talk about emptiness or quantum mechanics, things. But the Buddha, as I said right in the beginning, his purpose is to really help sentient beings deal with the destructive negative emotions. That is his whole point. What makes us suffer, what makes us fight, what makes us live in disharmony. All this is because of the turmoils, turbulences created in our mind by the negative emotions. So if your knowledge is not addressing these problems, it is just dry intellectual exercise. It's not going to help you. You might get some salary and things like that, but it will not address the core human problems. I was quite recently reading a text by very famous Buddhist Tibetan teacher Kongtang Tempe Dome, where he says that even though Buddha has given countless teachings, but as I already mentioned, that the first teaching that he gave us, the Four Noble Truths teaching. Even within this Four Noble Truths teaching, the first was the truth of the suffering. Now, even in the case of the teaching on the truth of the suffering, the first teaching that he gave us, impermanence. And it is said that one of the last teaching that he gave us on impermanence. And this is for me so crucial, because if you really don't understand this transient, fluid, impermanent nature, you're not going to make a move. You will keep on building your nests and plan to stay here forever. This reminded me a story, an old Indian story, where there's the story of a person who lived 1,000 years. And during his life of 1,000 years, he had married 100 wives and had 100 children. So one day the Lord of Death came and said, now you lived very long, you are 1,000 years old, so it's your time to go. Then he said, yeah, I know I'm 1,000 years old, but still I want to live. But since I have 100 children, you take one of them. And then the messenger of death goes to each of these children in terms of seniority, and everybody says, I want to stay, I don't want to go, I don't want to go, I don't want to go. Finally goes to the youngest one, who was 15 years old only. Then the messenger of death asked, what about you? He said, I want to go. Then the messenger of death was a little bit shocked and said, since your father and all your elder brothers are refusing to go, and you are so young, why you are willing to go, and in fact so happily? He said, since my father lived 1,000 years, my elder brothers lived much, much longer, and they didn't get anything what I am going to get by living long. So the crux of the matter is, it's really not just by living long, even though we all have this aspiration to live long, live long, live long. I'm going to build this house. Then also engage in strong corruption, which is the backbone now, unfortunately, in many places. Unfortunate. Want to live long, want to live long, want to live long. For what? This wish to live long is there with everybody. Even if you ask a very elderly person, 95 years old, are you going to die? He'll say, yes, I'm going to die, definitely. Are you going to die today? Maybe not today. That is the problem. That's the problem. So now the main question is, then what do you get by thinking about impermanent suffering? And many people, in fact, go to the extent of saying Buddhism is a pessimistic religion. And our answer is, no, we are not pessimistic, we are realistic. We talk about true truth. We talk about Four Noble Truth. We are realistic. And in fact, by reflecting on the truth, the reality that you are going to encounter, there will be great transformation in your life, and also you will be able to develop loving kindness, compassion, and so forth. That's very important. Let me give you two examples, especially to benefit the younger people. Now, for example, let us see impermanence, and particularly talk about impermanence in the form of death. If you are somebody who regularly thinks about death, regularly think about the death of other people, impermanence of other people, you will feel sorry for yourself. You will feel sorry for other people. If you think about suffering nature of everybody, whether they experience it right now or not, you know that. So with this, you have this understanding, oh, this lady is going to die. This young boy is going to die. When, I do not know. So probably this will be our last meeting time, so I should be nice. You see? So it's so interesting. When you really understand the reality helps build the positive emotions and helps in removing the negative emotions. Another more concrete example that I can give you is, for example, right in front of us there is, say, a very elderly person, 95 years old, and also physically very ill, with wounds all over the body and pus oozing out. If there's such an elderly person, will any one of us think about marrying that person? Probably not. What I'm trying to say is attachment will be less or attachment will not be there because you are able to see the reality properly. That helps you reduce attachment. Similarly, none of us here in this hall will come forward and give a kick to that old person. Instead, you will feel sorry for that person. Instead, you will extend your helping hand. So I just want to, drive this point. I just want to, show you this example. How, by understanding reality of impermanent suffering, so forth, changes your life, transforms your life, helps in developing loving kindness and compassion. Therefore, great teachers like Shantideva, he says, don't have to kill people, they'll die. And now look at this, our world leaders, the insane leaders. They keep on building destructive weapons one after another. Now we have stockpiled so much arm that the world population can be killed many times over. What a job it is. You don't have to kill these people many times over. One time is enough. So you can see the ignorance. You can see the ignorance. So therefore, understanding the way things are is very, very important. But as I was saying, that the way to start is to start from the grosser level of impermanence. Number one, suffering, impermanence. Impermanence also, there are very subtle impermanence, grosser level of impermanence. So start from, in terms of your meditation and practice, start from the grosser level of impermanence. For example, grosser level of impermanence means the changes that you can see with your eye. Now in our personal life also, how many of us have seen people dying? We can count our relatives, friends. We can count. If you keep a diary in your life, even if you are relatively young, still you know many people that passed away during the last few years. But it never occurs to you that next will be my turn. And if you're able to know that my turn may come very soon, that will change your life. That will change your life. So if you want to bring about a change in your life, it's not so much thinking about liberation or enlightenment. These are the great, great goals for the Buddhist practitioners. But to really make an impact in your life, if you really think about the transient nature, the impermanent nature, the fluctuating nature of your life, there will be really, really a quantum leap. Quantum leap. Your whole perspective will change. I don't know quantum mechanics, but there will be a quantum leap by understanding by understanding this. It's a really, really great teaching. It's very important. I'll tell you one story, because I'm not so much here to do a lot of intellectual exercise, because especially there are so many young people, I want to really benefit them. To make this point more clear, I'll tell you a story. There was a person who made friendship with a ghost. That ghost had some kind of clairvoyance, precognition. So the human being said, I'm a little bit scared of death, but I also want to enjoy life. So first I want to enjoy my life, and then later, when the death is about to come, I want to do practice. That's what we all do. That's what we all do. So then the ghost friend said, yes, fine, I'll tell you in advance. So one day the ghost came and said, my dear friend, one of the members of your neighbor down died yesterday. He said, oh, Mani Peme, so sad, But he continued his way of life as before. Then after a while, the ghost comes again and he said, my dear friend, one member of the family of your neighbor died last night. He said, oh, sorry, so sad. Om Mani Padme Hum. Nyingje. Right? But he did not make any effort in transformation of his life or practice. One day the ghost came and said, "My friend, it's your turn to go." He said, "What? I told you to tell me a little bit in advance." He said, "I have never seen a person so stupid like you. I told you 2 times. The never down, member of never down died, member of never up died. You should know that your turn will soon come." That's the problem with us, really. If you really think about this impermanence, everybody has this problem, that problem. Understand that. Respect each other, help each other. That brings harmony, friendship, compassion, loving kindness. Everything will come if you have this understanding. But if you pretend, "Oh, I'm somebody who is rich, I'm somebody who is beautiful, I'm somebody who is tall, I'm somebody who is a professor," and then you go like this, Pride goeth before a fall. It will soon, you will experience the problem of that. So therefore, understand what I'm really trying to say is understanding the truth, starting from impermanence, then suffering, and so forth. Now, when we talk about understanding impermanence and suffering, we are not talking about impermanence, the table is changing, mountains change. That doesn't make much impact. Impermanence, your own impermanence, how you are changing. From the Buddhist viewpoint, right after the second moment of the birth, aging has started. Aging doesn't start when you're over 60, when you become like Geshe Lhakdor or something like that. No, aging starts right from the second moment of the birth. And in Tibetan, there's a phrase, "Gepa kichi kichi umbeta tuchilungna sentame." The only thing with aging is it comes unnoticingly and gradually, just like the environmental degradation. If there is an onslaught attack of aging, you will die of shock. For example, you go, very handsome man or beautiful young women, go to sleep, next morning you get up with white hairs, wrinkled foreheads. You will die of shock. So the only good thing is it comes unnoticingly. But the bad point is because it's coming so gradually, unnoticingly, that you don't think about it. Don't think about it. So therefore, when it comes to transformation of the mind and so forth, it has to be done when you are active, fresh, and young, not when you have nothing else to do. Because sometimes in the society, Tibetan society and also many Buddhist societies, when they did all the worldly activities and failed or succeeded, whatever, when they have nothing else to do, now I'll do dharma practice. Stupid. How can you do this great, lofty, sacred Buddhist practices when you are unable to achieve much success in the worldly affairs? So that is wrong. That is wrong. Okay? So therefore, that is the process. Now let me say a little bit about the main topic, the two truths. I will explain this primarily from the point of view of the highest Buddhist school, Prasangika Madhyamika view. Nagarjuna invoked this distinction of the two truths and give it new meaning and insisted on its importance. As I already cited the quotation, that the teaching of the doctrine by the Buddha is based upon two truths, the truth of worldly convention and the ultimate supreme truth. Those who do not discern the distinction between these two truths do not understand the profound nature of Buddha's teaching. Now the two truths are, number one, relative truth. In Hindi it is called samvrti sadhya. Relative truth, which literally means covered or concealed truth, is the phenomenal world just as it appears. The things, the multifarious things that we experience, the multifarious colors and shapes that we see, that is called conventional truth. So conventional truth is very rich and very attractive, and also is the source of distraction. You see the beautiful. Yesterday somebody asked me a question, why we are unable to focus too much on the mind? Because mind is something that you can't directly see. The rest things are yellow, blue, white, so colorful, so attractive, right? So the conventional truth is the phenomenal world just as it appears, with chairs, people, species, and the coherence of those through time. Ultimate truth, which in Sanskrit is called Param Arth Satya, is the emptiness of that very same phenomenal world. The Tibetan term for relative truth, Kunzov captures the relation between the two imagistically. Kunzov, a very interesting way of explaining this. Kunzov is fake, almost like fake. Kunzov means all dressed up, just like somebody performing on the stage. The real person is not what he acts on the stage. He comes as a monk, as a human, as a woman, as a clown, and so many things, okay? Dressed up, outfitted, or costumes, that is relative to this shunyatas, costumed in the brilliant colors of the phenomenal world. And that is the level of appearance which we touched yesterday. And appearances are deceptive. So the conventional truth is very deceptive. We are not saying conventional truth is not there, but we need to know it is very, very deceptive. I have so many things to say on this point. How we are deceived 100,000 times, whether we do shopping or whether it's a marriage, whatever. We're just attracted by the look and then get deceived. That's why the things that is sold in the market is so nicely packed. Take the example of a fruit juice. Outside it's nicely packed with colors, you know. But inside the juice itself, I don't know how many months it has been lying in the store. Really, just to give you one example. And we are cheated just by the look. Enough? For intelligent people, hint is enough, right? So this distinction between the truth is not intended as a metaphysical theory of truth, as I mentioned earlier. It is a description of the experience of the practitioner who experiences his mind, its objects, and their relation as codependently originated and thus as empty of an actual independent abiding existence. As I mentioned yesterday also briefly that there's so much confusion in the use of the language, but I want to make certain things clear today. Yes, one, we must make a distinction between existence and independent existence, and non-existence and lack of inherent existence. So what we are saying in the context of the two truths or even otherwise is, existence is there. As is designated by the mind, existence is there. That is the conventional truth. We are not saying that there things do not exist, the food is not delicious. We are not saying things like that. Existence is there. But the problem is, when we relate to something, we don't see that thing as only existing, but we have this tendency or habituation of seeing that thing as 100% beautiful or 100% ugly. We have this tendency to exaggerate. And that exaggeration leads to problem. Like for example, if I'm in need of buying a car, let us say BMW, but I don't have enough money. So I do some window shopping, okay, repeatedly, then start counting my money. Now 1 lakh, 2 lakh, you know. Then right in that process, you can see how much suffering you have started because of that attachment, you know. You have to walk like a donkey to buy a BMW, right? Suffering already started. But still, because of this obsession, attachment, you just almost every day you go and do window shopping and then count your money. So you have not bought that BMW, but still because your mind thought, I will possess it, I will own it, I will buy it, already that BMW looks beautiful, much more than any other car. And then gradually, having walked like a donkey, when you have earned enough money and have bought this BMW car, you got so mad with it, especially on the first few days, which I call honeymoon period. You don't want anybody to touch it. You make sure that it's covered, so dust doesn't collect on it. Things like that. You can see the problem. But then the reality will very soon show its face. So after a few days, you start saying, oh, I made a mistake. I bought BMW car a little bit earlier. There's a new model. There's a better color. There's a better shape. That is how we keep on updating the external thing. iPhone starting from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I jokingly tell people, you're very good in updating these machines, but when was the last time when you updated yourself? Yesterday somebody said, The brain, even Einstein couldn't use brain much, could not update much. so think about the rest of us, you see. So that's the problem. So what is being said in Buddhism is update yourself, not so much about the external machines. The reason is, unless you develop a holistic, compassionate, realistic perspective, all these so-called facilities, all these religious practitioners, religious traditions, it is really not sure whether you will be using this as for constructive purposes, destructive purposes. Just like a small kid made to ride on a wild horse. If the little boy is made to ride on a wild horse, it's for sure that the horse will throw the little boy and break his neck or leg or whatever. And he always gives the example of letting putting a young boy on the seat of a rocket and let him fly in whatever direction it is. Very risky. So religion is not necessarily the problem. Science is not necessarily the problem. The problem is the untrained human mind. When you get these tools, whether it's science or religion, whatever, when it goes in the hand of a mind which is not realistic, which is not uniting, which is not inclusive, everything will be a problem. We see so many fanaticism in the name of religion, so much destruction is happening. Then science also, yes, anything can be misused. So therefore in Buddhism, the focus, however difficult it is, to focus on the mind, train the mind, not according to your likes and dislikes, but according to the way things are. So therefore in the teaching of mindfulness practice, one of the most important teaching that is taught for the mindfulness meditators is don't judge other people. Don't judge other things. Who are you to judge other people? How would you know who they are? And we have this problem of, we have this cognitive bias, we have this confidence bias, so many biases are there, right? And when your mind is biased, it is impossible to experience peace. So that's the thing. So as I was saying, make a distinction between existence and inherent existence. Existence is there, inherent existence is not there, absolute existence is not there. Existing from its own side is not there. So that's what we are refuting. The reason to refute this is because the things appear to us are in relational terms, in terms of interdependency, in terms of co-emergence, not in terms of having something that is out there. Even in the case of shunyata, emptiness, which we fondly call it the ultimate truth and so forth, even there we say emptiness of emptiness. Meaning that shunyata, if you study shunyata itself, you will find it is also designated. It also don't have independent existence. And in fact, the Buddha wants, Nagarjuna wants people, but having refuted the existence of all phenomena, if you conclude by thinking that emptiness, since it is the ultimate truth, should have independent existence, then you are resorting to a wrong view which cannot be rectified. It's like a medicine becoming poison. So even in the case of emptiness itself, even in the case of Buddha, doesn't have absolute independent existence. Right? So now this is easier said than done, making a distinction between existence and independent existence. Very difficult too, because we have this habituation, many lives habituation, that things exist means they should exist independently. Even many of the lower Buddhist schools of thought, they said things must exist inherently. And it is very strongly refuted by the Prasangika Madhyamika school by giving an example. For example, if you have one son, and the teacher of that son has given him some homework, and then your son does homework by himself, and then he can say, I did the homework by myself. But if you take the help of the mother, and then later on say, I did the homework myself, that's wrong, even conventionally. So therefore, anything that is dependent on causes and conditions and parts and the designating mind Nothing whatsoever can be termed as having independent existence. Even the so-called permanent phenomena doesn't have independent existence. So this is a general description. But the more important thing is with the person itself. The problem that people face is the person. People think the person should exist independently. The person should exist permanently. So for this person, I might fight. I must struggle. I must be strong. I must, end up doing all these nasty words, things like that, right? And then the Buddha says, okay, tell me, where is the person with which you are so obsessed? Where is that person? Tell me. Then you will say, no, this is not the person. This is your body. This is your body. Your body is not you. Because you also say, my body is not well. My mind is not well. So the person is the possessor of the body and mind. And body and mind is what the person possesses. So the person has to be different from the body and mind. But if you search, how can you find that out? Now this is the troubling thing, really. And therefore this famous statement is made by great teachers by saying, if all this phenomena which is like a dream, the phenomena which is like an illusion, if contemplated as an illusion, if meditated as an illusion, you will get enlightened, which is also like an illusion. My time up? So everything is illusion, see? Time is illusion.
That was inspirational. So we're going to have a little bit of panel discussion here. I just want to start out, we had a discussion before the meeting about how would we relate quantum mechanics to this kind of topic, and one conversation was, well, maybe it's the difference, the two truths was the difference between classical physics and quantum physics, but I actually think, in reflecting on what you were talking about, it might be the difference between what we know after a measurement and what we know before a measurement. And so, as you talk about the conventional and the ultimate truth, the conventional truth for us might be that when we make a measurement, we know the location of something. But the ultimate truth might be, what is the location before we make this measurement? And one of the things about that is that it is unknowable. And so I'm wondering if this has a correspondence really between conventional and ultimate truth. I don't know if you'd like to comment.
Tsungzu mazo ngön la geje she di du tsambala ane nangju ki nanglo she de ki ane demba ni di tanda ngong kam sere ki nanglo la sugyun ki ngong kam sere da ane tanda tsedu ki ngong kam sere ni paso ane dawo yosare se ki geje chungsong si imbe na ya ta tanda geshi la ki en dus se tamshi dus ni du tsambala ane dine rang isa mares tanda di khado dus la vin benang du tadu tsedu ngong kam rekbe ki nanglo la ane tse je chawe ki je la ane nezun thong de ya di ane tanda kunzup demba dawo che tse manjewe ki ngöla ani karyoresya di ani tondam demba dawo che imbek so do shnarang tsowa dende shile sons ta diga nanshi tse manjewe ki ngöla karyores pesha sha ngobuji ki kosata u imbena khande yoresya di ani nganzu ki nguyo nisula haku tubrung ma imba ha komido be ki ani nedang jik la shagi yores tse manje ki pardula chaza ta di ani tondam demba dawo ji shawi imbena ani gilan kirang ki di tola ani dawe chan tunga do samju khande yes.
There is a quotation which says, Masam jumi shira parochi, maji manga namke ngowonyi, sosorari ishi chuyubas. Masam jumi shira parochi. When you talk about the real nature of emptiness, it is unthinkable, inexpressible. That's the nature of the wisdom gone beyond. And in fact, there is the nature of shunyata. So meaning that the clearest example that we can give for this, a dumb person, a person who has lost his speech, tasting jaggery or tasting sugar. When that dumb person has tasted sugar, he knows how sweet it is, but he has no word for it. He is dumb. He can't express it. So therefore, it is said that when you really experience it, the real direct experience of shunyata is something like that. You can only experience this. You can explain a little bit, but you can't explain exactly how it is. And therefore, when somebody asked the question, how is the process of realization of shunyata? Then answer was, how is the process of realization of space? Because when we say space, it's just mere absence of obstruction. Similarly, when we talk about shunyata, there's nothing that is affirmed. It is mere abstraction of independent existence, mere absence of independent existence. So something that's really, really difficult to explain as it is unless you yourself experience it. So there is a similarity, yes.
Thank you. Do we have questions here from the panel? Yes, Ian?
So I took a little something different from the conventional truth versus ultimate truth. And it relates a little to why I'm a scientist. So I see conventional truth, to me at least in the scientific sense, as being what I just perceive on a daily basis. But as a quantum scientist, the ultimate truth I know is very different. The world of quantum mechanics is what kind of governs a lot of what we see, but it's not obvious, and it's not directly perceivable by my senses, but I can get at it through investigations. So that's actually, I have two comments. So that's comment number one. Maybe you want to translate that?
Tangarangi tanda dembani de tada ani ging korangi tanda tanda tis manda chadeshas jaza nga dus nye yung du zambala ani tendam ki dembasia di khat chai dus la min bana ngarang su namsha jundu ani nire ki chobe ki nanglo la ani nangwa khariyobe ngobe ki nilu dan jebe ki nongsu khariyobe tende chigla ani shagi yobe ki so do shitus jaza ta achik chinang ek samu tanda di nga chedung kham rekwa wa jik imbe ki gyumsan ten serek ba ji imbe ki gyumsan ten samu tanda tende chi yungu geres 대가나시다 된담 덴바시아디 아니 지가 제둥 검릭베기 아니 내단다 this 대단다 더우여백 소도시도 진짜 아니 가서 제둥 검릭바시아디 카르슬라비나 제둥 림발 여백이 아니 니주 딘주기 아니 가서 지가 남샤 준 통대 니주 딘줄라 아니 대화여데 당 간디스 우망스야 될 당진 시기여데 임베나야 아니 제둥 림바디 가서 우스 코나 태가 아니 통토비아다 뇽토비아 아니 제시게 아니 카부차디기 와송자 아니 dinge do tung dus chata di tola samju songo chis di chikins.
My next comment was that, and it's kind of related, again, why am I a scientist? And I was thinking about this from some of the questions yesterday and what science brings to the world. I am a scientist because I want to know how the world works. So I guess I see it a little bit, to me, if I understood correctly, and maybe I didn't, but if I understood correctly, to me, science is a little bit, I guess, like, and I don't want to say anything to offend anyone, I think it's a little bit like Dharma, maybe, to me. It's like a spiritual practice. It helps me to make sense of the world, and yes, ultimately to hopefully reduce suffering and increase compassion. But I'm trying to get at the ultimate truth, and that's what I'm doing as a scientist.
자자다 ngarang samjuin jius samjuin tat niwadil di khares lavi mena chikchina ngarang ani serik baji kharchini ani cheware sia dida ani dewa yosigres serik sia di khachin jang yore sia de khasang anju keja chungso cheza di khachin jang yore se du chambala ani hingwe ki ani nelu sinere ngue nesu khari imba di ani shendo yoya ke chedula ani anju ki serik sia di langlan chi yore serik jung yore tigana shi ta sam dire ko ton sam tang yu chambala chikchina ani nge ki ani serik sia di ane ta nangchu dharma line thani de peji sidong ngon nangchu sigro ta dende chigla dida chigba res lavin bene ya ane chita ngorang samchu dine ro chai du chigba insa res am gudus khajin lavin bena serik ki ane miyu di ane shingwe bu ki oyu nesu nilu hye bezu tapshi de miyu di resha di shembe ke tone ane nga zu chig dungye nyur tang yu ne sigire kangye nyur tang yu ne chig dine che thup gure samya chig da dine che gu gure samya ki ane yeje de yo sonza ta chigba res lavin bena ane madya shira yosamares.
His Holiness in his universe in a single atom clearly mentioned that monks studying science should be considered as a part of their spiritual practice. So what you are saying is correct. But the one point that I would like to make, at least from the point of view of Buddhist practice, is whether any activity, politics, religious, science, any activity, whether it becomes spiritual or rather religious practice or not, is very much dependent upon motivation. It is not just because you do something you benefit other people. It's good, but that is not the demarcation to say that you are doing religious practice. For example, at 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock we'll get lunch. Okay, by eating that lunch we'll also get benefit. Our stomachs are full, we feel happy if you are especially hungry. But we cannot say that the food is practicing religion, although we derive that benefit. So whether your practice becomes a religious practice or not is very much dependent on the motivation, the wish to benefit others. Tanda Kurangi tanda de sungye de seri begi chehib chene ta quantum physics ta dinde gal cheba mangbo chene chigmila phendo yungde ta dinde chane any chul tangi hamba jaba daw chagre de chul daw chi chag yosar samgdo sikora sungdo mil phendo tende yujires ina chul do mendo si de kunung la ra le res kunung pha phendo che samlo meba chene phemba samje ke chul do yomares pena cha chana nigung togo do ni nigung khala sa yung de phendo thogro was rwa tokbe kange de segrwa ina di khala ke chue cheba ke sig marwas jidu ta kunung la ra le res phendo ma do se de ngazo ta nangjo ina dile lawa kunung mangbo ku ro
Aria?
So I have a question. So it would be unrelated to ultimate truth and conventional truth. So it's related to your story about like die or not die. So you use an example of like people want to live longer, right, and so on. But what about the opposite? I mean, there are people in the world that think that, oh, life is just useless, and why don't I just die now instead of suffer through? I wonder what is going to be your comment about it.
Morangi tiwa di tanga tong tanda dembani da dende tiwa mes tiwa di ane tiwa na shi Geshe Lhakdor tanji drum ku nanglo la midin zo chika ta gengo imbe na tsereng bu tandu dendu yo ki ane kamme du zo drum du zo she na sons ina zamuli na mikashi khari yoros la vi na gengo macha ngone ta dene chho midu stanga tandaran shi shegi samya dende yorwas chata ta ane dende ku tonya kunzu kangi mangu thi yor di tor kirang kunzu khari yos.
Leo Tolstoy, the famous Russian writer, he wrote many books, and we become very old. People were paying less attention, and he got, depression. To such an extent, he thought of killing himself. He used to sometimes go to hunt, rabbits. So by carrying a gun, and then he thought, now I should not carry the gun because there is a likelihood that I might use that gun to myself. Then he started searching, as you are asking, a little bit like that, the meaning of human life. Then he found 4 categories of people. The first category of people are the majority of the people who don't really think about meaning of human life. They just go on, go to their work, get a little bit of their, money, whatever, food, and then play with the children, look after the children. That's it. They live very happily, even with bare minimum facilities. Then there's a second group of people who think about the meaning of human life. Then they, as you mentioned, they think, at the end we are all going to die, so there is no use, just kill ourselves. So they hang themselves or jump from the roof or whatever, they kill themselves. Then there's a third group of people who say they also, explore a little bit, and then about the meaning of human life. They also find that at the end we are going to die. So now is the time to enjoy. Do anything you like. Have fun. That's what many of us do. The third people. Then Leo Tolstoy says he was not brave enough to commit suicide also. So then he started thinking, then he found finally the best way to discover the meaning of human life is to live like the ordinary people. Not asking too many complicated questions, just enjoy the moment, you see. But that is just a hint, not answering directly your question. But the important thing is, the fact that one day we are going to die is not a reason that you die today. And that's why I told you this story of somebody living 1,000 years still not fulfilling. That doesn't mean that you commit suicide today. And also that also shows that it is not by living long, but how you live, that is important. So if you live your life meaningfully, even one day is very, very important. Unlike animals, human beings have such a wonderful human intelligence. And especially if you use this intelligence for, positive practices, then even 1 hour living is very, very precious. Just mikashi ya jumse kharil de na suzu ta junu budin chomundu suzu suicide chigi sigin de duwa se duzul ta thapki khari yor se din de chik duwa ta ti chidu ti ta misi samlo dang da res mikashi ta mi tamani here chomundu rangshi japcho sigin rikji yore gashi ne misi tamani here ja ta tanda ti ta khari na ches na chi boche ta thap sig duwa khaji ta thap gore shin here labdo de chome ore se ore ta khari se na 그 니마직 희에 인도된가 상상의 희세대 잡종 계절에 로그메 계절에 여러분 다 맛이 버드 강투도 소소 터대지네 데네 단다 류된데 미 류된에마도 키 류된 소로든데 삼로당 마시게 바죽 류된서든데 말와 남주 요딩에 든데 주도 디 양시 레로워치네 토예메바 디 토바 딜라 에네 소소게 니마레레마고 주저레레 나레이나 레 상부 수강게 제마도바지 다 개베 삼로 마당 이네 소소 따치당기 여러분토니 기부당다지나 기부당에 희부지 고갑 여러 데디 마제 에네 디 시시와이나 에네 신이 매와 차는다 양치기 로바 마르미 희바나시 다 소소소 소체나 소체베 딕바 여러다 딜디네 제바치마 양고르시 계자 망고 여러 디지다 두서 제다제나 초메오레스 다 두서 에네 겐데 코리우다 다 다멘달 라리그로와